Welcome to Keepers of the Faith Radio. We are so thrilled you could join us, and of course we are entering into the month of February, which oftentimes represents romance and joy, and of course, connected to that, Valentine's Day. I know personally I'll be getting my lovely wife something that most likely contains chocolate. However, with the talk of love and romance, it's even more important for us as Christians to be able to define what love is, and furthermore, what love isn't. Over the next two programs, we'll be visiting with Tanya Street, who experienced God's love as a young child, but was then misled and deceived into believing a lie. Tanya Street is a survivor of human sex trafficking here in the United States, and this is her love story of deception, hurt, despair, and most importantly, redemption. We would suggest parental guidance for some of our very youngest listeners as we discuss a true life love story. But first, to start us off, here's KOTF Quartet with He Loves Me.
Why did he go to Calvary? Why was his life's blood shed for me? Why did he suffer like no man has ever done? There's just one reason. I am the one. He loves me. He loves me. Jesus loves me. He loves me. He loves me. Jesus loves me. When I'm sad, he loves me. Even when I'm bad, he still loves me. And when it seems no one cares for me, I talk to Jesus. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me. Jesus loves me. He loves me. He loves me. Jesus loves me. Jesus loves me. Loves me.
We are so pleased that Tanya Street could join us today via phone from Virginia. Tanya is a survivor of human sex trafficking and is now a licensed minister and sought after public speaker on human sex trafficking and, most importantly, on God's ability to redeem us out of the darkest situations. Welcome to the program, Tanya, and let's start at your childhood and share the story of a really unique encounter you had with love when you were around 4 years old.
Yeah, I actually, as a little girl, I was very well loved. I understood love in a different way. It really was a gift to me. I was about 4 years old, and I had actually an encounter with love, and I knew, and because my parents, they didn't go to church, so I didn't learn about God through them. I ended up having a love encounter when I was 4 years old. I understood that love created me, and I understood that love was bigger than me. And someone took me to church not long after that, and the same feeling of love I had in church, and I realized that God was my creator, and He's also the creator of love. And I'm so thankful of that experience at such a young age, because I tell you, the challenges that, really happened in my life, it was that memory of love that kept me hopeful and going.
So here you are at 4 years of age having this beautiful encounter with love and acceptance and a loving family. What happened as a young girl that changed your life trajectory or direction?
Yeah. Well, when I was about 7 years old, a family member sexually abused me. And it was that experience that really rocked my world. That happened from the time I was 7 until about 14. And I ended up, bringing the issue forward and exposing it because I was afraid that my sexual abuser would abuse my sister. And so, I went on ahead and told and brought out in the open. But, not all family, what family member wants to hear, that their daughter or, some of their family is sexually abused. And so there really wasn't a lot of support at the time, and it was just hard to embrace this the teenager at this point, 14-year-old, and say, hey, it's okay, let's get you proper training, let's, really get you what you need. Instead, I felt rejected. I felt blame. And so I began to see myself as, as such, and so I just really went into this dark, deep abyss of self-hatred. I was treating myself as I thought, others were feeling about me, and believed that to be the truth about me. And, that continued, on until when I was in high school. I actually had gotten pregnant my junior year in high school and had a baby in my senior year. And so it was actually during this time that I met my trafficker. And so, when you talk about a perfect storm, right before I met him, my mom had told me I had to find another place. And so here I am, a single mom, graduating from high school and, having her own place. And so, really feeling that rejection. When we talk about traffickers and what they look for vulnerabilities. And I was definitely a prey for this type of situation. And so I was going on my senior field trip, and I didn't have a date. And so one of my best friends at the time, it was just her girlfriend, boyfriend, had a cousin. And they just set me up on a blind date. It doesn't really sound, something far-fetched. I didn't see any red flags. I thought that was pretty safe. And he was older than me. again, because I had my own place and I had a baby, that didn't really matter that he was older than me because I felt like I needed someone a little bit more mature. So we went on this field trip, and it was just great. He was a perfect gentleman. He took the initiative. I like to tell people he didn't look like the pip, with the hat, the decked out outfit and everything matching. He looked normal, well kept, well groomed, and we, had a great time together at the amusement park. And I was lonely, and let me tell you, that night at the amusement park, I told him everything in my life, everything. I told him about the abuse. I told him that I was suicidal. I told him, what I was going through with my baby's daddy, and all kinds of stuff. I left no rock unturned, and he made sure to ask the right questions and really gain my trust that night. And then, after that night, we dated for 4 months.
When we come back, we'll hear the story of how Tanya found herself in a web of self-destruction and human sex trafficking, and how it all started with the person who seemed to care the most.
And here's a letter from one of our listeners here in the United States. Hello, how are you all doing? I'm from Arkansas and saw you all at the Gospel Barn in Michigan, and you were so awesome and friendly and caring, and I will not forget it. Keep up what you believe in and the great work God has for you. I can't wait if you ever come close to me again. Thank you, Wanda. We always love to hear from our listeners, and we would love to hear from you. Email us at kotfradio@gmail.com. That's kotfradio@gmail.com, or go to our website, kotfradio.com.
Faith Fest 2016 is almost here. Come out for faith-inspiring music, great fellowship, and powerful worship, all set to the backdrop of Washington State's breathtaking landmark, Mount Rainier. Faith Fest 2016 is coming to Cascades Camp and Conference Center July 29th through the 31st, featuring artists such as Keepers of the Faith,
I wanna be whole.
Freedom Singers,
Over death triumphant.
Canada's Double Portion,
I wanna testify.
J3 Trio, and the Arena Family. Come out for a great time of fellowship, worship, and of course the breathtaking beauty of Mount Rainier. With activities for all ages, it's the perfect family getaway. Faith Fest 2016, coming to the Cascades Camp and Conference Center July 29th through the 31st. On-location RV sites and lodging is available, but going fast. Go to keepersofthefaithministry.com. That's keepersofthefaithministry.com, or call 253-682-7718. 253-682-7718. And of course, we're pleased to have Tanya Street joining us today, who is a survivor of human sex trafficking. And furthermore, and more importantly, not only has she survived that, but she has gone on to show Christ's redemptive power out of even the darkest moments and some of the darkest places we can go in our lives. She's now a licensed minister and also a sought-after public speaker. And thank you so much, Tanya, for being here with us. Tanya, many listening may think it takes a giant leap to go from a loving family to being on the streets, working in prostitution, and being a part of human sex trafficking. But the individual, the single person who is the most influential in taking you down this path, was actually the person who seemed to care and support you the most.
Yeah, he was. He was gorgeous, actually. And, he knew how to say all the right things to really make me feel good about myself again. Because remember, I was suicidal. I was very unstable. I felt shame in such a tremendous way, unloved. All these emotions. I felt unsupported, undeserving. I felt unaccepted. I felt dishonorable. Hopeless, isolated. All these things were there. And when he came into my life and we were dating for those 4 months, I began to feel safe. Secure, valued, listened to, cherished, prized, loved, and he knew how to keep me on that high. And so as this was going on, I fell in love. You know, for me, that's what I was able to attach to. This is what love is. Now, although I had this experience of real, tangible love that included all of me. I was 4 years old, and you know, I was attached to who I am and my purpose and my being. I was actually living in my body. We talk about this with victims of trauma who suffer with, detachment disorders. And when you go through so much trauma, you learn how to detach yourself so that you can function in real life. And so, I've already gone through the sexual exploitation at home or, with family. And so after coming out of that into this situation, when I felt this false love, false security, false sense of value and worth coming from this guy, I attached to it with a part of me, not all of me, because parts of me were still this locked inside this little girl, So here's this other part of me who's desperately looking to be loved comes, to life or comes to the front, so to speak, comes to center stage and says, I'll take this, And so there we were, dating. And so here we are. It's September, and I was actually about to go to college. Our local community college had given me a scholarship for early childhood degree. And so I was about to go to school. He had never said anything negatively about it. He seemed really supportive. September is coming. I'm about to start school, and I get a phone call from him. And he says, hey, I want to talk to you about just kind of the things that I was aspiring to. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always talked about that. I always talked about owning property. And he said, well, how are we going to do this if you are, going to school for early childhood teaching? And I go, well, because we love each other and we'll figure this out, because I figured that's what adults do. And so he says, well, I've been watching you over these last 4 months. He said, and I've seen that you are, just you take care of yourself. You're very nurturing. I've watched you with your son. You're so independent. And you manage your money well, and you just really got a good head on your shoulders. And I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for a queen, is what he said to me. Now, for me, I'm like, wow, this is great, So I'm ready to listen, because in my mind, this is what adults do when they move forward in their relationship. And so he said, well, I want to run an idea by you. And I'm all for it. I'm like, yeah. He said, well, let us say a word. And when I say a word, I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. I'm like, okay. He says, madam. I'm like, okay, madam. I said, stagecoaches and 1820. And he says, good job. He said, try again. Madam. And I go, okay, thinking about this. I'm like, well, madam is like, a person, a woman, an older woman who takes in girls and they sell their bodies, they have sex and get paid for it. Give her the money. She promises to protect them. Oh, and they live with her. And he said, yeah, exactly. He says, well, my mom is a madam. And I'm like, what? Like, I mean, really, in other places or in other countries, or like I said, in 1820s, I'm like, wow. And then, I need to be so honest with you. When he said this to me, I had those thoughts, like, it was shocking to me that this is happening in our country was my first thought. My second thought was, you know what? I live a very sheltered life. Maybe feminism has taken a move and women are allowed to do this. You know, maybe something's wrong with me. You know, this is what I'm thinking. And I need to, you know, to catch up. And so he says, well, my mom is giving me the business. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, this does have something to do with me, you know. And he says, you know, I've been watching you, and I think you'd be the perfect partner. And, man, you know, I mean, this is new news to me. And a lot is going on. I'm thinking, how am I going to, you know, because at this time, I really don't have a great relationship with pretty much anybody in my life, because over these last 4 months, he and I had gone out so much. Even the quality of time I had with my friends had just become very few, you know, just very short. And I was only seeing them, you know, or maybe just calling them, because he would take me away so much. So, and in their mind, they were just happy for me. They thought I found someone who really loved me, and, you know, and my son. And so, you know, we were just kind of talking back and forth, and I'm thinking, how am I going to get this relationship back with my parents and in my community if they find out I'm doing something like this? And, you know, it's just like all these, you know, I had a strong church community. How, you know, I'm going through all this in my mind, and I'm kind of giving a soft yes, because I really love this guy. And so as I'm giving this yes, he says to me, he says, you know, I do need to tell you that although you'll be my queen and you'll be my partner, and I will need you to go out a couple times and, you know, do a couple plays or a couple tricks, you know, and meet with men and bring in some money, because if you don't, the girls are not going to respect you, and you need to learn the culture, and, you know, because it would be a whole new world for me. And I mean, at that moment, I stopped and I said, no, I can't do that. He goes, well, how many guys have you slept with? And of course he knew that. He knew that the very first day we met, because I told him my entire life story, you know. And, you know, well, you know, how many STDs have you had? You know, because I'd had a few. And, you know, he said, what are you getting from your baby's father? And I wasn't getting anything. Actually, he was giving me a hard time. He said, and you're receiving money from the government, you know. He said, at least my girls get paid for what they're doing. He said, you have nothing to show for. You know, this is a man. This is a grown man that I looked up to. I mean, he made me feel I was on cloud 10. And it was this guy who knew so much about my past and my present, who was, I felt, telling me the truth about what I was hiding about myself. And, you know, I took a back seat, and you know, all that stuff just came right in front of my face, and I just felt like he stuck a knife in my heart and turned it. This is the man I love calling me a ho-ho. Yeah, I was going to say, you know, and at that, he said, I'm going to give you time to think about it, and I'll call you back, and he hung up. And, you know, it was about 2.5 weeks went by, and I remember it wasn't quite 3 weeks, because I remember when that phone call came in. He called me, and he said, he was very matter of fact. He said, well, have you made a decision? And I was so desperate for that call. I mean, when he asked me, of course I tried to play it cool, but my response was, I'll do it.
Neon lights are flashing across the rain-soaked, darkened streets, and they're calling out to join them. Their dance of iniquity, sad and lonely faces stumble up and down the streets, and I pray as I thought they would breathe until I let you in, Lord, and you take control. I can't live any other way. Oh, but being just human, how I pray for your strength, Lord. Just keep me and guide me always. Lord, don't ever lose your hold on me. Guide me down those darkened paths I cannot see.
This concludes part one of a two-part series that we are sharing with Tanya Street. Make sure to listen next week as we hear the conclusion of Tanya's story. It is truly a love story that includes everything from deception, hurt, despair, but most importantly, redemption and the beautiful love of Christ. Of course, before we go, we want to make sure to remind you of the CD offer that we're offering, and that is for a gift donation of $25 U.S. or more. We would love to send you our newest CD titled Faithful. You can go to our website, KOTFradio.com, on how to take advantage of that offer. We would also like to take this time to say thank you to all the people who are already financially supporting us and making this radio program possible. Until next week, we look forward to that time and spending it with you. From all of us at the KOTF Ministry and KOTF Radio, mahalo and aloha.